for listeners that don't use DAWs, what they are. So standing for Digital Audio Workstation, they allow us to create, cut and edit music. Some will only work on a Mac, some only Windows, and some even on Android or online. There are many out there, but some are free and simple to use but don't give many creative tools, whilst others are expensive and give you more advanced tools with unique ways to edit and further enhance your audio. But for those that aren't used to using a DAW, the expensive ones especially can be quite complicated and challenging to use. So, what songs do you choose to medley together, and what exactly do you use for your software for? Do you prefer more advanced or simpler and cheaper options?
As you basically touched upon earlier, the songs which I said the songs I use are camp and rock and things like that. So obviously I mash ABBA together a lot, but the DAW which I use, I would say is a bit more advanced rather than simple. I do like to think that all DAWs serve a purpose, but the simpler ones are a good kind of way to get your head around them. They can be very confusing when you first look at them, but I would be lost without them. You have experience with DAWs. If one setting is off, all of a sudden, it doesn't seem to work.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. You have audio routing problems, and all of which just running on a laptop. And I started learning on more complicated DAWs. And when I was first using them, I was just completely confused out of my mind.
Yes.
And now I've had a few years to use a few different ones, then I'm kind of more used to it and still learning some of the techniques, but a lot better at it.
Yes. Have you experienced a problem yet where every DAW seems to save in a different file format? Because
oh man, yes, definitely.
Which, honestly, you think they would all just have a nice, easy file format which can just be used across the board, and don't even get me started on moving files from Mac to Windows. Not worth it. But yeah, that's pretty much my experience with DAWs. It's pretty much just used for editing and kind of mashing songs together. I do quite like the effects and things on them as well, but sometimes they do not work how they are meant to work, or they are just overly complicated. so that is my experience with them.
Yeah, mine's been very similar to that.
Yeah.
So talking about the expense of DAWs, because the one I'm using currently, even with a discount, is over £100.
Oh gosh, wow. I mean, was that a kind of one-off cost, or is that a monthly subscription? Because they come in both.
What I paid for was a one-off cost.
Yeah.
But if I would want to upgrade to further versions, then I wouldn't get the discount, and it could be up to £500 just for a piece of software.
Oh gosh, I think I know the software you're on about, yes. So, I mean, the costs can range, as you said, you spend £100. I mean, the one which I use is a monthly subscription one, and they can charge upwards of about £80 a month just to use it. But it does come with obviously the fancy gadgets and things like that, but they are very, very expensive. And, that's just, £100 for a one-off fee. It might sound expensive to some people, but that's still quite cheap for a DAW. I've seen some DAWs that, you spend thousands for. There's quite a famous one on Mac, for example, which is, I'm going to say, an absolute fortune, and I would never actually pay that. But for some reason, I think a monthly cost kind of works out cheaper. Maybe it's just my mentality of it.
There's definitely some out there that cost £200 a month.
Yes, exactly. And luckily, I did not buy that one because I don't think my bank balance would be very happy.
Yeah, you need to decide, for our listeners, you need to decide the cost that you're willing to put into it and what you want to get out of this DAW.
Yes, exactly, because they each do lots of different things. And although if you look at them, they kind of all look similar, they're very different when you get into them. Most do offer a trial session though, so definitely recommend it's worth doing a trial session for them.
I 100% agree with that.